The Bristol dirt race was already a wild ride, but things took an unexpected turn when Ryan Preece spun out Kyle Larson. Was it a case of retaliation or just a racing incident? The drama doesn't stop there. The aftermath of the incident raised concerns about the potential consequences of Preece's actions. Join us as we delve into the fallout from the Bristol dirt race. But before that, please subscribe to our channel and hit the like button for more whereabouts on NASCAR. At Bristol Motor Speedway on April 9, 2023, Christopher Bell was victorious in the opening event of the 2023 NASCAR Cup Series season. In spite of this, the events that occurred between two other drivers, Ryan Preece and Kyle Larson, overshadowed this one. The first event of significance took place in Stage 2. Preece and Larson were engaged in a battle for position when the driver of the number 5 drove up the track and seemed to pinch the number 41 into the outside wall. Then, over the radio, members of Preece's crew started having conversations about how these aggressive tactics needed to have consequences for them. Let's fast forward to the last stage, where Preece and Larson were engaged in a fierce battle against one another. On the straightaway, they collided with one another multiple times, and then in the last collision, Larson was thrown into the wall after being spun about. This event ultimately brought a stop to his day and put him in the 35th position overall in the race. After leaving the care center, Larson stated to members of the media that it was obvious that he had a short temper. After that, I believe he made an attempt to crash into me. He was swerving at me while I was under the yellow. Assumed that it had been about an hour and a half since that occurred, and that it was not my fault that he had ended up spinning out and in the back. I was under the impression that he would calm down, but it is quite clear that he did not. Like I said, it had probably been an hour and a half, so I would have to guess, since then, so I figured we could just be grown-ups and get the F over it. But I suppose not. After the conclusion of the Cup Series race, Preece provided his response. When Preece hit Larson multiple times and sent him into the wall, people immediately wondered what he was trying to do. Is it possible that he accidentally collided with the number 5 Chevrolet Camaro on many occasions, or did he do it on purpose? During his post-crash interview with Jamie Little and later during his availability to the media, Larson suggested that Preece had willfully caused the accident that he was involved in. However, in his own post-race media appearance, Preece offered a different interpretation of what happened. I was trying to run the top. It was really slick, Preece told the assembled press. Got loose and both of us found ourselves inside the fence. To clarify, I don't compete in dirt races. I really don't know. I was trying to run the top, even though I usually run the bottom. I knew he was making speed up top, so I tried to move up there, but we were just too free. Preece continued and showed that he agrees that many drivers will maintain their position, but he emphasized that the contact with Larson was by no means deliberate. Given that they had not had any disagreements in the past, Preece stated that he does not believe that they will have any in the foreseeable future with the Hendrick Motorsports driver. After being taken out of the race at Circuit of the Americas 2 weeks ago, Preece spoke out about his anger with some of NASCAR's biggest names. He told Front Stretch later, "Yes, a bunch of idiots beat me up. You want to know what this is, don't you? This comes down to not respecting each other. Some help themselves, but they don't care about cars. What happens as the car enters turn 1? They just run into everyone and ruin days. So someone definitely needs to get kicked in the ass." On Sunday, it looked like Larson was the one who got it. Let's just say he wasn't too happy. I would have to guess it had been about an hour and a half since the first incident, so I thought we could just act like adults and get over it, but I guess not, he said. Larson said that he and Preece didn't have anything to talk about. He also said that NASCAR shouldn't get involved like it did when Denny Hamlin wrecked Ross Chastain at Pocono last year, and again when Hamlin admitted to wrecking Chastain at Phoenix this year. But the question remains is what will be the possible consequences? What do you think? Tell us in the comments below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click the bell button for more updates. After the Food City dirt race on April 9th, the two drivers who were engaged in many accidents had different reactions to what happened. One of them gave the impression that the collision was on purpose, while the other claimed that he had simply come loose. At this point, the only thing that's left to wonder is how NASCAR will react. Will Preece be given a penalty by the sanctioning body before their trip to Martinsville Speedway? Or will the collision be viewed as merely an incident that occurred during racing? Larson responded to a query regarding possible NASCAR involvement by saying that he doesn't believe the sanctioning body should get involved. Before going on to the next question, he did not provide any more background for the discussion. After the race at Phoenix Raceway, Denny Hamlin was given a penalty by NASCAR due to the fact that he had made purposeful contact with Ross Chastain's number 1 car, which caused them to both crash into the outside wall. After determining that he was in violation of Section 4.4, NASCAR Member Code of Conduct of the rulebook, the sanctioning body penalized him with a fine of $50,000 and deducted 25 driver points from his total. Prior to traveling to Bristol Motor Speedway, Hamlin filed an appeal on the penalty. The National Motorsports Appeals Panel, on the other hand, decided that the punishment should stand. The fact that Hamlin disclosed in an episode of his podcast titled Actions Detrimental that he had purposely established contact with Chastain is one of the most significant distinctions between the two scenarios. According to Preece, his interaction with Larson was unintentional and he was just being loose when it happened. When the penalty gets issued, it's going to completely reshape the point standings. Here's a look at the full point standings after the most recent NASCAR Cup Series penalties. NASCAR announced a new penalty on Rick Hendrick's team less than a week after an appeals panel overturned fines totaling 100 points and 10 playoff points that the sanctioning body had handed down to 4 Hendrick Motorsports teams and its 3 active full-time drivers. After the race that took place on Sunday afternoon at Richmond Raceway, the sanctioning body brought the number 48 Chevrolet driven by Alex Bowman and the number 24 Chevrolet driven by William Byron to the R&D Center. In spite of the fact that it took NASCAR a little bit longer than usual to deliver its results, on Thursday, they stated that both cars had been deemed to have committed a greenhouse violation. As a result, they took 60 points away from each driver and 5 points from each team for the playoffs. Ross Chastain, of the Trackhouse Racing team, has reclaimed his position as the points leader after Bowman fell from his previous position as the leader to 7th place. Bowman has now lost the points lead away from the racing track for the second time in the last 4 weeks, since the 4th race of the season at Phoenix Raceway, which was after the initial 100-point and 10 playoff point sanctions were given for the hood louver issue. He has led the series in terms of the average points scored each race. In addition, the 25-point penalty assessed against Denny Hamlin was upheld this week. At Phoenix Raceway, he was fined, not for purposefully hitting Ross Chastain in the back, but rather for admitting after the fact that he had done it maliciously. And while Hendrick Motorsports and their drivers got the points part of all their hood louver penalties overturned, Colleague Racing was not as fortunate, as Justin Haley was given a penalty of 100 points for their hood louver infraction. On the other hand, the penalty was reduced from 100 points to 75 points, which brought Haley's total number of points back up to 26 from 101 points where the penalty was imposed. In other words, the rankings have changed 12 times in the last 4 weeks because of things that happened off the track. So that's all we've got for today. We hope you enjoyed it. Tell us what you think of the video in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We hope to see you in the upcoming video.